Okay, let's unpack this. Mid-June 2025, it really dropped like a double feature in the tech world, didn't it?
It really did.
We had Apple's big developer conference, WWDC, and then Google rolling out major updates almost right after. And it felt, well, different this time.
Yeah, different is the word. This wasn't just about, new widgets or slightly faster chips.
Exactly. It was like watching two huge ships steering in fundamentally different directions. You could really see diverging paths towards the future.
Absolutely. And looking at the announcements side by side, pulling from some of the analysis out there, like those future versus present tech strategies pieces, you see more than just product updates.
You see philosophies.
Yes, two opposing philosophies about where computing is actually heading and, maybe more importantly, how we're meant to interact with it down the line.
So that's exactly our mission for this deep dive. We want to take that source material, try to strip away the marketing gloss, and really understand the core strategic differences. What do these updates in design and AI, user interaction, what do they actually tell us about Apple's and Google's visions? Not just for next year, but maybe the next 5-10 years.
And the contrast is, well, it's pretty stark when you lay it out.
Yeah.
Apple seems to be meticulously, maybe even slowly, building towards this long-term unified future, very focused on spatial computing, even if some pieces feel a bit abstract or, frankly, incomplete today.
Right. While
Google's laser-focused on the present, optimizing right now with powerful integrated AI, delivering things that feel like immediate, tangible improvements to what you're already doing.
Okay, so let's jump into Apple's side first then. Everything they showed at WWDC 2025, it feels like part of a plan, like carefully laid bricks.
Deliberate steps, exactly, like they're constructing this bridge piece by piece towards that next era of spatial computing they keep talking about.
It's a fascinating strategy, isn't it? It feels less about giving users everything they might want right now.
Yeah, and more about subtly guiding them, getting people used to concepts, interfaces, ways of seeing things that they think will become essential in, an augmented or fully spatial world.
And the most striking example of that has to be this huge new design language they're calling liquid glass.
Oh, yeah.
It's described as this sweeping overhaul across iOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS Tahoe 26, full of dynamic, sort of translucent, glassy layers. It looks almost fluid.
That fluidity, that sense of depth, that's precisely the point. The idea, as the analysis suggests, is to create interfaces that don't feel just stuck on a flat screen.
Right, like they have dimension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Preparing users for environments where digital elements might float or interact in 3D space around them. It's like building a visual vocabulary for AR before AR is even fully here for most people.
But, and here's the immediate tension that the analysis points out, right? Prioritizing that future vision seems to create problems, or at least friction, in the present.
Usability concerns.
Yeah, the sources specifically mention things like low contrast, making text potentially hard to read, especially in certain conditions.
And it really raises that classic Apple question, doesn't it? How far can they push a new aesthetic, one designed for a future paradigm, before it negatively impacts the practical day-to-day usability for people just using their phones and Macs today?
It's a bold visual bet, potentially disruptive, as you say.
Very. Okay, moving on to the iPad. iPadOS 26 feels like a really significant step, maybe trying to finally solidify its identity.
It does. We're finally getting proper Mac-like multitasking, resizable, overlapping windows, and crucially, on all the iPad models, not just the Pros.
And that's a big shift strategically. It moves the iPad away from being primarily a content consumption device or, a single task-focused machine.
Towards what?
Towards being a genuine mainstream computing platform. Apple's clearly positioning it now as the go-to low-cost laptop alternative for a lot more people, capable of handling more complex workflows than before.
Though the analysis does note it's still not quite a full Mac replacement, is it? There are still limitations.
Oh, definitely. Things people expect from a traditional computer, like proper multi-user support, or even just playing audio from two different apps at the same time, those are still missing.
So it's a big leap forward in capability.
Huge leap. But it still maintains that sort of curated, focused experience that Apple seems determined to preserve on the iPad, for better or worse, maybe.
It's powerful, but still within Apple's, let's say, carefully defined garden walls.
Well put. Now the AI story, Apple Intelligence and Siri.
Oh.
It's interesting.
Yeah, we saw some fun consumer-friendly stuff like Genmoji, creating emojis on the fly, and Image Playground for generating images. Nice additions, perhaps, but maybe not the huge leap some expected.
What really jumped out from the source material, though, was the delay. The really significant delay of the more advanced, deeply integrated Siri features.
Right, pushed back significantly, all the way to spring 2026, apparently.
Yeah. And the reason cited architectural and technical issues, it seems to kind of confirm the inherent difficulty of the path they've chosen.
Which is focusing on privacy first, lots of on-device AI processing.
Exactly. That is inherently slower to develop and harder to scale
Hmm.
compared to just throwing everything up into powerful cloud models like Google does.
It really highlights the trade-off they're making, doesn't it? They're prioritizing user data staying on the device, which is laudable, but it's complex, requires deep hardware-software integration.
And leads to delays when you hit roadblocks compared to the agility you get with the cloud.
And then there's the temporary solution to fill that gap, which feels, well, kind of contradictory based on their messaging.
You mean the OpenAI ChatGPT integration?
Yeah. If user prompts for certain complex tasks are going off-device to OpenAI's servers, doesn't that clash, at least a little, with that core privacy message of Apple Intelligence being primarily on-device?
It certainly introduces a tension into their narrative. You could call it pragmatic, offering advanced functionality now by leveraging a third party. But yeah, it means relying on an external partner with a very different data processing model. It's a notable exception to their stated AI principles.
Interesting tightrope walk there. Okay, finally for Apple. Gaming. They seem to be making a much more serious play this time.
Definitely feels that way. Consolidating everything in the App Store Games section, Apple Arcade, Game Center, into one single dedicated games app that's pre-installed.
And it's not just about organizing things for users, is it?
No, the developer side is key. The release of Metal 4, their graphics API, and the new Game Porting Toolkit 3. These aren't just minor updates.
What are they signaling?
It's a clear signal to the big AAA game studios.
Hmm.
Apple is basically saying, look, we are serious about gaming. We're giving you powerful tools to make it easy to bring your biggest, most graphically demanding titles to Mac, iPhone, and iPad.
So a real commitment to building out a competitive gaming ecosystem, not just casual mobile stuff.
Exactly. A serious investment.
Okay, so that's Apple. Carefully, meticulously building towards this spatial future, sometimes leaving the present experience feeling a bit, well, in progress, or with some compromises.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's pivot to Google. The analysis we read paints their approach as much more pragmatic, decisive even, focused squarely on leveraging AI to improve things right now.
It really is that core contrast. Building for the future versus optimizing the present. Google isn't really waiting for some grand convergence. They're deploying their strengths, particularly in AI, directly into the user experience today.
We saw the stable release of Android 16, obviously, and
Yep.
Google wasted no time using that with the June 2025 Pixel feature drop.
Right, adding those exclusive AI-powered features just for their own Pixel phones, like that Pixel VIPs widget and custom AI-generated stickers in Gboard, showcasing what their hardware plus their AI can do first.
But the core Android 16 updates also brought features for the wider ecosystem too, didn't they?
Oh yes, things like live updates for more dynamic information display and expressive captions seem designed to benefit everyone on Android, spreading some of that AI capability more broadly.
Now, here's something that feels really significant for the broader Android world. That native desktop windowing mode in Android 16,
Yeah, that's a big one. And interestingly, developed in collaboration with Samsung.
which is huge because why?
Because it essentially democratizes that desktop-like experience on Android. Before this, if you wanted to plug your phone into a monitor and get a sort of PC-like interface with movable, resizable windows and a taskbar, you're pretty much limited to Samsung phones using their DeX platform.
Right, but now,
Now, this capability is built into the core Android operating system itself.
meaning any Android manufacturer from Google itself to OnePlus to whoever can potentially offer this experience just by plugging the phone into an external display.
Exactly. It levels the playing field considerably for that kind of productivity use case. It opens up a whole new way to use Android devices beyond just the phone screen. And it's not tied to one specific hardware brand anymore.
And the engine driving so much of Google's strategy here, it really seems to be their Gemini AI models. They've just woven it incredibly deeply into their main products.
It's less about one specific standalone AI feature and more about AI becoming this kind of ambient layer of intelligence across the board.
Can you give examples?
Sure. You see it with AI overviews in Google Search, where Gemini provides AI-generated summaries right at the top, or the personalized Smart reply suggestions in Google Workspace apps like Gmail and Docs would seem to anticipate what you might want to say next.
So it's positioned almost like an indispensable utility. It's just seamlessly integrated into your daily tasks and workflows. AI isn't something you have to consciously go to. It's just kind of there, helping out.
That seems to be the goal. AI focused on tangible, immediate improvements to everyday tasks, information access, communication, making the power of these huge language models feel instantly practical.
Okay, and one more thing from Google. Countering that persistent narrative about Android security, especially compared to Apple's strong privacy focus, they launched something called Advanced Protection.
Right. This suite bundles together a bunch of security features, things like AI-powered scam detection, new anti-theft locks that trigger if a thief grabs your phone, intrusion logging.
But it's more than just a collection of features, isn't it? The branding seems important.
Exactly. By packaging all these things under a single, strong brand name, Advanced Protection, Google is making a clear strategic marketing move.
Trying to reshape the conversation.
Precisely. Consolidating their security efforts under one banner gives them a powerful message to push back against the perception that Android is inherently less secure or private than iOS. It's a direct challenge to Apple's advantage in that narrative.
A clear effort to build user confidence and present a unified security front. Definitely.
So, wow, we've got Apple building deliberately towards a future, sometimes hitting friction now, and Google aggressively optimizing the present with AI while also needing to shore up trust around security and privacy.
Which brings us neatly to that competitive analysis bit, looking at these announcements as this real clash of philosophies.
Yeah, this is where the strategic implications get really interesting. The great AI divide seems like the most obvious battleground.
It really is. Apple is, sticking firmly to its privacy-first, on-device processing model. They're accepting that it means slower development cycles, hitting snags, delaying things like those advanced Siri features.
While Google is full steam ahead, prioritizing speed and feature delivery using its powerful cloud-based AI.
But their challenge remains managing both the perception and the reality of data privacy with that approach. That skepticism isn't going away easily.
Then you have the clash of aesthetics.
Yeah.
Apple's liquid glass.
That unified top-down design system, very consistent across their platforms and explicitly designed, as we said, to prepare users for an AR future. And Google has its Material U evolution, Material 3 Expressive, which is much more focused on personalization, flexibility, letting things look different.
But Google's perennial challenge there, as the analysis notes, is getting consistent adoption of their design guidelines across the vast, fragmented Android ecosystem. Making a truly unified look and feel is just much harder for them.
Okay, and finally, the contrasting visions for the future of the personal computer, ample with iPadOS 26.
Offers this really powerful, highly curated, but still somewhat bounded mobile computing experience. It's Apple's vision of modern computing.
And Android with the new desktop windowing.
It's a much more open, potentially messier, but fundamentally desktop-like paradigm that you can tap into just by plugging your phone into a screen. More flexible, perhaps.
Though the analysis did suggest it's maybe less polished, especially in these initial stages, compared to a mature desktop OS or even the refined parts of iPadOS.
Right, potential versus polish, maybe.
Yeah. So, boiling it all down, what does this mean for these two giants going forward? Based purely on the source material, the analysis we looked at, Apple's success seems to hinge on whether they can actually execute this ambitious, long-term spatial vision.
Yeah, can they do it without frustrating their huge current user base? With design choices that feel awkward now? And crucially, can they deliver on those delayed but critical AI promises?
And for Google?
Google's success seems to depend on translating its, frankly, undeniable technological lead in AI into a truly cohesive, compelling overall product experience, one that feels as integrated and maybe as trustworthy as Apple's ecosystem aims to be.
Can they keep up the momentum, build that confidence around data and privacy, and really challenge Apple's ecosystem dominance in a meaningful way?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. It's a fascinating strategic moment to watch unfold. So, thinking about these two very distinct paths laid out, Apple building towards that unified spatial future, perhaps at the expense of the present sometimes, or Google relentlessly optimizing the present with AI, which company's approach feels more aligned with your vision of where computing is headed? Something to think about.